All right, everyone. Sean here, and welcome back to my personal fitness journey. This is going to be my week one update. If you were here from the beginning, week zero, last week I talked about what the overall goal was, where I'm trying to improve my overall health by doing not intermittent fasting, but alternate day fasting, 36 hours of fasting, followed by 12 hours of an eating window combined with exercises where I perform strength training on days where I eat, and then days where I don't eat, I'm performing cardio in order to maximize the burn and try to minimize any kind of muscle loss I do have, and potentially, if it's possible, gain muscle during the entire process. We'll see how this is. Um, I'm not an expert. And again, from my previous video, I mentioned that that's one of my pet peeves is that a lot of the folks that have these type of videos are the ones that are already in shape. Um, and you have to take it through word of mouth of the personal journey that they went through. Here, you can follow along with me in real time, see the successes, see the failures, see the overall journey as you take it with me. If you think that sounds awesome, come along with me, like, subscribe, and follow along. Even if it's some point in the future from now, you can still watch all these videos in sequence and get an idea of what's coming up in your own future if you're taking this journey yourself. So, uh, how are we going to do this for these weekly updates? I'm going to talk about all the different meals and the exercises uh, during the week for each day, and then I'll provide a comparison of the previous week. So, in this case, the comparison to my baseline week zero. All right, so starting off with day one. Day one was a non-fasting day, so a day where I ate. So that means I did some strength training. So you can see on the screen here all the different exercises that I did do. Mostly arm exercises for day one. Wasn't necessarily focusing on pushing myself to the absolute limit of the breaking point, but just wanted to get a baseline of where I was comfortable of performing these exercises so that I could compare it from a week to week basis. I didn't know when I'm starting this if going through the process of fasting I was going to lose muscle mass, and maybe during week one, if this was a week zero results, um, if my baseline was 20 pounds, 10 reps, 3 sets of that, if I lost muscle mass, maybe it would go down. Again, that's all part of the experiment of going through this journey together. So, with that, this really acts as my baseline uh, for the different exercises. Each day of the week was going to have a different, unique set of exercises that I'll follow. And then I come around in a cycle. I will continue to do the same exercises and compare one week to the previous week to the previous week to the previous week. So, as you can see here, how to read this bicep curls, doing your standard lifting with the weights there, 20 pounds, 10 reps, 3 sets of those. Shoulder presses, where you take it and go over it. I did 20 pounds each hand, 10 reps, and then 3 sets. The equal sign at the end of each of those is representative of the volume concept. So the overall amount of effort put into it. Um, you know, there's a lot of studies out there that volume is a key indicator that you need for maintaining or building muscle. So I'm using, again, that volume metric as a way to determine going forward if I gain mass, if I lose mass, if I gain strength, etc. Uh, Whereas you can have, maybe doing 10 pounds for 20 reps and 3 sets is the same volume over time. So the numbers may change as far as reps or sets or pounds, but if the volume amount overall is what's going to be key. In addition, I'm also tracking all the steps using a fitness watch. I keep track of my steps, which also calculates the number of miles. So I'm going to record those in each one. My goal is to hit at least 10,000 steps each day as I go through this journey. So day one, again, mentioned was an exercise day with strength training, which means it was also an eating day. Day one was a little bit unique in this exercise program because prior to this, I didn't want to necessarily go from eating, 3 meals a day to just jumping into a 36-hour fast. So what I did is prior to starting uh, the fast, the 36-hour fast, I did a 24-hour fast. So Saturday, before all this started, the last meal I had was lunch. So the first meal I had on day one here was at lunch. So I skipped breakfast. Um, most of the other days, I'm going to either have, breakfast, lunch, dinner, all three, or maybe a combination. But in this case, because I needed to work my way into the 36-hour fast from a 24-hour fast, that's the way it worked out. So I'm not really good at calculating the calories. Looking at the food there, it might be your standard 2,000 calories. That's kind of hard to tell. But what you can tell is by looking at it, does it look like it's healthy? Does it look like it's enough food? Does it look like it's too much food? It's a lot of salad, a lot of vegetables, and some protein. So trying to focus on the healthy components here. You can see all the stuff that I threw in the salads. Um, in addition to the eating, I'm also having lots of water, 4 liters of water so far. I've got these 5 milliliter or 500 milliliter water bottles that I've been drinking. So going through about 8 of them is about 4 liters of water. Um, and again, sorry with the lifting at the beginning of the day to kick this off. Day two was a fasting day. So it means I did cardio. I started off with the mechanical bike. You sit back and have your feet forward and you pedal. So I did that for 20 minutes, which got me to about 4 miles. Then I did the stair stepper for 10 minutes, and that got me about 30 floors. My steps overall were lower than my goal. I was planning on getting 10,000, but only got about half of that. So what did I eat? Well, that's an easy one. No food for me on the fasting day, but I did continue to drink water. I did want to point out, though, as we're going through this journey, this first no eating day for the fast, right around the 16-hour to straight through the 24-hour mark, uh, was having the hunger pains. And it took a lot to not just grab a meal. So there is going to be a little bit of an uphill battle if you're following along. Luckily, after the 24-hour mark, that's about when I went to bed and kind of ignored the rest of the hunger until I woke up. When I woke up, most of the hunger was gone. I did have coffee in the morning and green tea at lunch to kind of just have a little bit more flavor than just plain water all day. Day three was the first full iteration of the fast. So I broke the fast 36 hours and then started off with an exercise. Now, if you were following along with some of my content, you'll notice that that's the first day, but I put out one of the short videos. And my emphasis in that video was that my exercises were a lot lower than I thought they would be. It was a little bit concerning. Uh, Going from breaking the fast, I really didn't have all the energy that I thought I would need to continue exercising strong. And I started having some doubts in what I was doing already at day three. But day three is when I was doing uh, the powerlifting exercises. So your deadlift, your squat, your bench press. Start off with a progressive approach of 30 or 65 pounds on the bar, or 65 pounds total to include the bar. Did 5 reps and then 3 sets of that. Then added on some additional weight, went up to 105, then 135. By the time I got to 135, I really can only do one set of 3 reps. So my reps were already going down. When I got to the squats, I did 75. I did 5 reps, but I can only do that for 2 sets. I couldn't get another set in there. Took a decently long break and then came back with 115 pounds on it. Did only 3 instead of 5. And then I did 2 sets of that. By the time I got to the bench press, I was exhausted. Did 50 pounds, was able to do that for 5 reps and then 3 sets of that. But even at it, though I added more weight, 80 pounds, I did only 3 reps of that in 2 sets. Again, lower volume in the end. On a plus side, I was able to hit my goal of 10,000 steps. Um, so there's that. Now, what did I eat when I broke the fast? Probably a lot more than I should have. A lot of high protein food, but I had an omelet with all the works in it. Um, but then I also threw in a breakfast burrito with the eggs, the sausage, the steak, the beans. Was really kind of stuffed after breakfast. Probably should have ate more fruits, but it coming out of a 36-hour fast, it all looked like good food. For lunch, again, I wasn't really that hungry because of the massive breakfast I had. So for the focus was a salad, getting in my greens, and then a hard boiled egg. Dinner, uh, I had some grilled fish. Again, a fairly small dinner if you look at the volume there. A grilled fish, some fried rice, and then again some more salad. I did bump up the amount of water that I had. Um, and again, the other note of highlight is that this was the first day after a full 36-hour fast. Day 4, I got into the again a fasting day. So cardio, I did a 1.5 mile run, fairly slow, 16 almost 16 minutes 50 seconds, followed by 1 minute sets of exercises. So those 1 minute sets, I did sit-ups, push-ups, the arm circles. So arm circles small forward, arm circles small backwards, arm circles big forward, arm circles big backwards. All the different exercises you see there did try to do 1 minute each. Um, the truth is, I got about 30 seconds in for each of those before having to take like a 5 to 6 second break. Um, do a couple more for a few more seconds, and then having to take another break. So nowhere near the 1 minute set, but that's a goal for me to hit the next time I come around to this exercise. Um, Later in the afternoon, I did feel a little bit better. So I went to go do some swimming. I did 12 laps. Um, each lap was essentially going down to one side of the pool, resting for 10 seconds, and then continue on to the rest of the way, and then resting for about a minute or two. I did increase my steps. I think the steps are primarily related to that 1.5 mile run. So there's a benefit there. What did I eat? Again, day 4 fasting, nothing. Did increase my water intake to 5 liters, which I think was one of the main contributing factors to not really being hungry throughout the day, as opposed to the previous time I went through the fasting. I did have some coffee, some green tea, and a little bit of lemon water for some electrolytes at lunch. Day 5 was another uh, non-fasting day, and along with that, some strength training exercises. This one I again used a lot of my arm muscles, so hammer curls, the pull downs. I threw in a leg press there just to give my arms a break, um, and rest while uh, in between some of the sets. Went in and did the upright row where you lift up the bar, the single arm row where you do one arm at a time, and then some weighted lunges where 15 in each hand, so 30 pounds. Did 10 lunges, 3 sets of those. And then finally some triceps curling from the back. Slightly below my expected goal for steps, but again, not everything's going to be a win. What did I eat? So a little bit smaller breakfast. I tried to incorporate more fruit into it, the breakfast this time. Had an omelet with the works, some yogurt with some dried fruit and some granola in it, a plum, banana, orange juice. So fairly big lunch. Now, because of my work schedule, I really couldn't fit into lunch, but it was okay because even though I had a small breakfast, I really didn't feel full at lunch or feel hungry at lunch. I was still feeling full. So I skipped out on lunch. Dinner, I came in with pasta, some rice, different types of rice, some cauliflower. So, got spoiled with some of the junk food in this one, some nachos, a burrito, and some cheesecake. And I mainly did that because as I've been listening to some of these different podcasts or these different sessions on YouTube, they talk about the 36-hour fast as something where you can have any type of food you want within that window. There's no restrictions on what you're supposed to eat. So I try to take advantage of that, see if it's really going to work or not. So I had some cheesecake with some strawberries. A little bit less water than previous days, but um, I think that was mainly because my busy schedule didn't allow me to go grab the water bottles as often as I would have liked. All right, so day 6 coming towards the end of the week. This was another cardio day. So I used the row machine, did that for 30 minutes and got about 400 meters or 4,000 meters registered, followed by some jump rope. So I did 2.5 minutes of jumping, then 2.5 minutes of resting. Did that for 4 different cycles. In addition to that, I had about 1,300 steps, so well above my goal, and of course, no food. Again, I only had 4 liters of water this time, but with that, I think because of the limiting of the water, I started to have some of those hunger pains creep back in at the 16 to 24-hour mark. All right, and then finally, day 7. So I came up with the idea of doing all of these different exercises, and in order to compare them from one week to another and show progress, I can only have so many different exercises. And because the 36-hour fast uh, basically takes 6 hours to go through, or 6 days to go through a cycle, and there's 7 days in a week, it ends up having an extra exercise in the same week. So in this case, uh, the exercises that I did for day 1 are the same ones I did for day 7, but it helps show and highlight what I plan on doing in the future. And as far as comparing my progress from a week to week basis. So in this case, comparing week 0 to week 1, I have it labeled week 1 and week 2, but same thing. Um, but the main point I want to highlight is that I was able to at least maintain the levels of my baseline. In fact, I was able to maintain those levels. Plus, I was able to add in two additional exercises, the hammer curls and then the cross body hammer curls. So as long as I'm continuing to make progress, that's a win for me. What kind of stuff did I eat? Again, I had a fairly big breakfast there, going with that omelet again, some yogurt, but also throwing in some fruit, banana, pineapple, some orange juice as well. Uh, was actually still hungry at lunch, so I had a fairly small lunch, but more than just a salad. So some baked fish, some quinoa, and some spinach, and then wrapped it up at the end of the day with a good old steak, some mushrooms, some fried shrimp, carrots, and then some salad. So that wraps up the first week. Now, before we get into the reveal of where I compared from baseline week 0 to week 1, go ahead and throw it in the comments. If you think I've gained weight, if you think I lost weight, how much, if you think I exactly the same, go in and throw it in the comments. Also, throw in the comments if you see anything here that you think I should do differently or think that you've done differently for something similar. All right, so with that, drum roll, please. From week 0 to week 1, you can see the results here. I went from 185 pounds to 180. It's one of those uh, medical things where they say that it's kind of unhealthy to lose more than 2 to 3 pounds a week. So I'm above that currently. However, I also have read some articles saying that when you're using something like alternative day fasting, due to the calorie deficits you have on the fasting days, it's not uncommon to have, 5 or more pounds lost in a single week. So I'll be monitoring it to see where it goes. The waist measurement, I didn't do a waist measurement during week 0. I didn't think about it, but I did do it at the end of week 1. So that's going to be my new baseline for where we're at. And hopefully we see that go down significantly in the next couple of weeks to months. I was able to maintain the same level of exercise, so that's a plus, at least for that first day and that last day. We'll get a better comparison next week for the other exercises. And looking at the photos on the top or I guess the videos, the top there is week 0, the bottom is week 1. Nothing significant as far as visible differences, but again, we're just getting started. So if you're taking this journey yourself, don't get discouraged. I'm not discouraged yet. We'll see where this goes in a couple of weeks. I'm hoping that we'll start seeing some at least minor results soon. It is promising that the weight is being lost. Hopefully, I can just keep it at a healthy level. Um, and I hope you take this journey with me. If you liked what you saw here, like the video, give it a subscribe, trying to grow the channel. I'm new to this, there's a lot of stuff I can do differently. So throw in your suggestions. Other than that, that's all I have for now.